Life isn't perfect, and neither are we.
Nope. But we know how to face our fears
And have some fun.
and talk about all the messiest things of life.
Like the messiest things.
Get connected to yourself, get connected to others, and get connected to the life right in front of you.
This is The Connected Life with Justin and Abby.
That's me.
That's you.
And you.
We're back with another episode of The Connected Life. And we have a really unique guest on this show today. And to start this off...
Justin saw my vagina.
That was not Abby's voice. Everyone's like, what does that even mean?
That's
okay,
true.
we're going to get into that statement and what that statement meant by the end of this conversation. But we're going to leave you guys just hanging like, what does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean? He saw her vagina. This is Katrina. Say hi, Katrina.
Hi.
Katrina is family to Abby and I. She's a sister. She's a friend. It's like there's so many cool things about our story that we're going to get into. But this story today, getting to this conversation, has been 6 years in the making.
Yes. It's been a while.
As far as the journey of getting to a place of probably where you'd even want to have a dialogue about it.
Yeah, I've been a little busy. Got a lot going on.
Been a little busy. When we first started out the podcast today, I'm trying to get Katrina close to the mic, and she just kind of keeps getting further and further from it.
The wall is now stopping me from moving away from the microphone.
Your nerves kicked in a little bit.
Just a little bit.
A little bit. So your emotional support, Abby, is not here today because she had other stuff that she was doing. And I thought it would be really fun for just the two of us to actually have this dialogue, because today's conversation has to do with a very intimate experience that you and I shared, as well as Doug and another friend of ours.
Wow, we really need to explain what this is about. It's not getting better.
I love the mystery of it. Now we've got everyone hooked. They're like, I cannot stop listening.
For the record, when I said that, I thought it was like a practice round.
Oh, it is not.
But I should have known with you it would not be.
Yeah, no, we're going to keep going with that one. But today, Katrina, so the way to introduce this story is we've been friends for how long? Probably
11 years.
Probably 11 years now.
Years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you married a friend of mine, Doug.
Yes, he's pretty great.
Yeah, he's a pretty great guy. Pretty fun. And I've gotten the gift of participating in many different avenues of your guys' lives. And one of the gifts, for all of our listeners who have listened for a while, you know about my panic attack season. And one of my greatest gifts in my panic attack season was actually Doug and Katrina, because we had what we called Thursday night This Is Us group, where we'd go watch This Is Us together and talk about life and stuff. And during that season, my nerves were shot to pieces. And I felt like I really had nothing to give at all to anyone. I felt so fragile.
Yeah.
And there was such a gift of love, kindness, hospitality, and acceptance that I experienced from you guys. It was like every Thursday night, you're just like, yeah, come on over. And some nights, a lot of nights, Justin just wanted to lay on the couch, watch the show, not have dialogue.
Nobody talked to me.
Or
Justin would come over and fall asleep on the couch while we all talked.
My body was recovering and my emotions were recovering from all of the sickness and stuff. But it's interesting because you guys always felt like home.
Thank you.
And I could go there and know that I really didn't have to be anything for you guys, and you'd still choose me. And I think that that's really cool. And I think that we've had a real mutual exchange of love and acceptance in each other's lives. And I know that I've been given the gift of some phone calls, late night phone calls.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to share anything about that. You don't have to, but I know that I've been invited into your guys' lives in times of pain. That's been really cool to participate in as well.
Yeah, I think throughout our journey, one of the things that I've always expressed to you is like, if I'm having a hard time, or if I'm even having like an intimate experience with Jesus, like you are typically with Jesus representing Father or representing just male comfort.
So you mean mentally or emotionally in your head? You can imagine,
I should clarify that.
Love, like the love of the God coming through a tangible expression like me, in that imagery and stuff.
Yes. You've been a safe enough person in my life that I can imagine you stepping into roles that maybe my father didn't or my mom didn't, and feel really safe there and feel really comforted there. And so, yes, Justin gets lots of, well, not lots, but late night phone calls from us if I'm upset, or I went through my own season of postpartum depression after my second kid. And Justin and Abby were really an integral part of helping me get through that, because I have always been a pretty even-keeled person throughout life. Yeah. And once that happened, I had no idea what was happening in my body and my mind. I just felt so out of control with everything. And with Abby's experience with her hormones, she could really have empathy and meet me where I was at. And with you, it was just nice to have a safe place of like, this person's safe and big and strong, and I don't have to be right now. Yeah,
it's really cool because getting to be trusted with the space that you and Doug have invited me into, and Abby, but I can speak just for me. I felt deeply honored by that. And, we're going to get into the conversation of some very redemptive moment and a redemptive journey, I think, for both of us that we've gotten to have. But besides that, I think it's been just a really cool process of what I've been trusted with. And I feel so much like I can trust you. And I think that something that I hope that the listeners that listen to the podcast today get is that community can completely heal, can be such an extension of God's love and such a tangible healing in our lives if we're willing to do the work of vulnerability and allow people to be more capable than us at times, because I think it's very easy for a lot of people to live on their own personal island.
Yes.
Of self-sufficiency. And to me, I'll say this, the difference between being self-sufficient and capable is that capable people have a capacity to do something on their own, but they choose to allow community to come in and support them even where they believe they could do something. Whereas self-sufficient people say, I have the ability to do this and I'll never let anyone in.
Yeah.
And oftentimes they rob themselves of God encounters through the love, the tangible love that can be expressed through another human being. So I think that, and part of you guys being in my world has shattered, or during my season of shattering my self-sufficiency, you guys were a critical part of that. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
So as we jump into this, I don't know, where would you like to really start the story? I think it might be good to share a little bit about your history.
Okay.
Your personal life history.
Yeah, let's dive into that. So you can also help me if you're like, you missed this part, because Justin knows a lot about my story. I grew up in Thailand until I was about 8 years old, and was a missionary's kid, came home, became a pastor's kid. Family dynamic was really disconnected. We just kind of did life on our own, and how whatever you were doing, you did well, and people would, throw in high fives and show up when they wanted to. But it was a pretty disconnected life of growing up as a kid.
I hear that a lot about, just missionary kids. There's disconnected cultures. It's really hard. Like, you're kind of like surviving the missionary field and stuff like that. And kids oftentimes just simply feel lost and different stuff.
Oh, yeah. My parents know this, but like, we were the back burner to the mission of ministry and getting people saved and all of those things. So felt that very much growing up, of like, we are the second priority. So came back to the States and just kind of did life, and then came to BSSM, and that's probably where I started to experience community and friendship and life. BSSM being the school at Bethel in Redding, and started to grow and recognize of like these places where I was so self-sufficient, and that I wanted community. I wanted people in my life so much, and I wanted those pain points in my heart to be healed so badly. And so just started bringing people into my life. And I think one of the things that I do well is create family and home. I think I've figured that out from a young age. But
which, by the way, can I just add that Katrina's an Enneagram 8.
I am.
Like me.
Yes, we're the best.
Yeah. That's why we're awesome. But it's extremely terrifying to invite people into our world to build trust and to get out of self-sufficiency.
Our biggest fear is betrayal.
Absolutely.
So you have to be in a deep connected relationship to feel betrayed.
Absolutely. So even you going on the journey, like there's so much bravery in that, just the idea that you're going, I want community inside of my space and I want to be deliberate about facilitating it.
I just really wanted to be seen. Like, I just think I grew up where I didn't feel seen for a really long time, and I wanted to be seen and I wanted to be known. And I felt like that maybe could get met in community. And so I started chasing after that really hard.
Yeah. So then you ended up getting married to Doug, and you guys did what, went on the journey that every married couple goes on. Most married couples anyways, not Abby and I, but
of course not.
You went on the journey of getting pregnant.
Didn't think that's where you were going with that. Thought you were like elevating yourself. Like, we don't have to have these conversations. Yes, I did get pregnant. We were married for about 6 years and then got pregnant with our first Carice.
You were married 6 years before you getting married?
Before getting pregnant?
Or before getting married? Before getting pregnant, it was about 6 years in, huh?
It was, yeah.
I didn't realize that. Wow. You guys have been married how long now?
Almost 10.
Almost 10 years.
Yeah, that math doesn't add up. We were married about 5 years and then got pregnant.
There it is.
There it is. That's the right math.
That makes sense. And as that was approaching, was that something that you guys had always planned as I want to have kids or?
Yeah, Doug was like dead set on us having 4 kids. And I was like, let's just have one and make sure we want another one because I hear they're a lot of work. So we need to make sure that this is something we want to continue doing. Yeah.
Yeah. As you guys kind of started approaching that, did you find yourself, because, last week, the last 2 episodes that we've done, Abby and I talked about the process of her going on the journey of deciding that she didn't want to have kids through her body because of the pain, physical pain and everything that she'd gone through in her sickness, and her process of grieving what wasn't going to be and discover what was going to be. Did you guys what was it like as far as
that journey?
Yeah.
I think I can't speak for most married couples, but for us, it was actually a journey to say yes. Like, we knew we wanted it, but there is an awareness of your freedom and your time and all of these things. And so you're like, when do we actually say yes and start doing this? Because it is a lot of work. But interestingly enough, about 2 or 3 months before we started trying to have a baby, this woman came into the bank where my husband was working, where Doug was working. And she just started prophesying over him about what our kids were going to be like. And he recorded it and he brought it home.
He's like, whoa, who's this lady? And she's just telling me, you're going to have these kids and this is what they're going to be like.
It was so cool. It was actually really accurate. Like, if you know my kids, my firstborn, Carice, is wild and adventurous. And
that's so her.
She prophesied that she would be an evangelist and like all of these things. I'm like, that totally fits her. And then our second, Rourke, is much more introverted and focused and just really likes to like explore and investigate. And she said he would be like a worship leader and he would kind of like be in this quiet place with the Lord. And so seeing that kind of happen in their personalities now is really interesting. But listening to it at the time made me go, oh, I actually want to meet them instead of just, oh, let's have kids. Let's see what happens.
Oh, it's like, I want to meet these people.
I want to meet these kids she's describing. They sound really cool.
That's such an interesting approach to it. Instead of having kids, I want to meet.
I want to meet my kids that you're telling me about because like they sound really fun.
These are real human beings and I want to meet them and I want to know about their world and stuff like that.
And I want to experience them. Instead of baby fever of like, oh, babies are so cute because they don't stay babies.
No, they
grow
don't.
And you're like, oh, they're still cute. Don't get me wrong. They're all gorgeous, but they're not little squishes anymore and they're mobile. So,
and you're chasing them down.
Well, a lot to say about motherhood, guys. It's so wonderful. But yeah, it was just this desire of like, I want to meet them. I don't just want to hold a baby. I want to like meet these people that God's has for us.
Yeah. As that progressively approached, what was that like for you? What started happening, especially after you're pregnant and you guys are getting close to having your first? What was that like? Was that bringing up a lot of emotions? Was that overwhelming?
The first like few months, you're just mind blown that there's a human growing inside of you.
Yeah.
That's all consuming. Like, I'm growing a human. And also pregnancy was very difficult. I vomit a lot. So once I got through those, first 20 weeks of actually being able to get out of bed, not vomiting all the time, I started processing through kind of like, oh, we're about to have this baby. Oh, we live across the country from any family. I was the first person in our friend group to actually have a kid in our very close immediate friend group. So nobody could even, in my community that I had built and had been so connected to and excited about, could actually like meet me in that experience, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like,
they couldn't necessarily relate. They hadn't been there. They're like, okay, we're here to support, but we don't know what's going on.
Totally. Yeah. And you all were very supportive. It's not that support was lacking. It's just, I was the forerunner for all of you. You're welcome. And having children. And so there was so many questions to figure out. And I think it did bring up this pain point of like, oh, I'm about to have a kid and I'm the youngest in my family. So when my sisters had kids, like, I would fly out and go see them.
Yeah.
I would I'm not once like during the birth, but like I would go visit and it was like, oh, is family going to come? Are we going to have this like celebration of life with my family? Is it going to feel like they're a part of it? And
oh yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I mean, especially when you talked about your earlier childhood and stuff like that, there was a lot, like you said, like, hey, just given the circumstances that we were in, it felt often like we were on the back burner. And it would be very easy to feel like, oh, is this going to be another circumstance potentially where I could feel like that? Or it could trigger those emotions or those experiences.
Oh, and it did. So it was really quickly. My sisters were in school and my other sister had 4 kids at that point.
Wow.
So the ability to come and be a part of my experience was not going to happen.
No, and I can imagine just being like, oh, I have 4 kids. I don't know how I get out of here.
Right? I have 3 now. I'm like, I don't know how to leave. This is crazy.
Can't even go to the store with 3 children, let alone across the U.S.
It's true. It's very true. So it just started bringing up like, okay, the reality is I'm about to have a baby and I'm going to do some things I've never done before. And that feels really scary. I was very adamant that I didn't want an epidural. And so I knew labor was going to be an experience. And it was going to be painful. And so there was a lot of prep work that went into that. And the questions of who do you want to be in the room came up. And when I actually sat down with myself and started asking those questions to my heart of like, who do I actually want to be in the room? I really wanted my sisters to be there. They're my big sisters. So they felt like, oh, you guys have done this.
Yeah,
you know
this is a big, scary thing for me. Yes. And it feels like you've...
Yes. And my sister, Sharon, she is a boss because she had all 4 of her kids without an epidural.
Oh, my goodness.
One of them on the bathroom floor where her husband delivered them. So,
I can't even cut my toenails without an epidural.
Yeah, you probably need one. They're bad. But yeah, so she's she's just really intelligent and totally understands all of the things that happen. She's a deep researcher. So I was like, oh man, if my sisters could be there, that would just make my heart feel so full. I would feel so safe. I would feel, and the reality is that's not going to happen. And
it's so crazy because there are a lot of crossroads that we as human beings come to at life that feel really big, daunting, scary, where either we're terrified of the unknown or we feel ill-equipped or all of those different emotions. And there is something inside of us that we're like, where is family? Where are the people that surrounded me, that know me, that feel safe, that especially help me to not feel alone? Because the truth is if we, in the scariest of things, if we can not feel alone in it, we can do basically anything.
Oh, totally. And that's my like internal fear is like, I'm alone. And so feeling like, oh, I'm going to be alone again in labor.
Oh, yeah.
I did not want that.
Where my body feels completely out of control and I don't know what's going to happen.
No clue what's going to happen. Just, we're going for it.
How was Doug feeling as you started processing this stuff? Were you sharing this stuff with Doug? Were you very aware of like the emotions that were coming up? Were you present with it, or was it just kind of idling in the background of you?
Well, I definitely did share it with Doug, and something Doug dreamed about being a dad for so long. So Doug is like,
he is just the best dad.
He's the best dad. Like, he's the most fun dad. He's so good with our kids. I think often our kids are so blessed that he's their dad.
Even when he has his worst days where he's like, I can't believe I did this, and he shares what he did, and I'm like, bro, if that's all you did,
they're gonna be fine.
They're gonna be so
We also
fine.
have like a savings account for counseling for them, so they are gonna be fine.
We started early.
We did. It's really important.
We can get them involved in Justin and Abby's programs.
Yes. And the other thing about Doug is like, he's so fascinated by birth, like in the just biological sense of it.
He has such a childlike wonder about stuff that I love. He's like this investigator.
It's great
like,
when you're not the science experiment, though, because like my whole pregnancy, I became the science experiment.
He's like, what's happening in that belly of yours? Let me push on it. Let me put my ear to it.
What happens if I do this? No.
So he got really investigative.
Oh yeah, he was great. The whole process leading up to him. Doug's amazing. He's an incredibly supportive husband. He would change out my vomit bag all the time, and just so excited about the actual birth. And I don't know if he actually understood that I needed to have my sisters in the room, because he is a very capable person, and he's like, we got this. And he also believes that I'm a very capable person.
Well, yeah, the 8 that comes out is like, I got everything. And he's like, you're good, right, Katrina?
Yeah. I'm like, no, okay.
I
hear this hurts.
The aggressive, intense side of me is all a facade. I'm really scared.
I'm really scared. It's going to be really painful. So yeah, he was supportive, and he was also very kind in it, but he can't meet that. Like, he can't be my sister. Like, he has to fully fill the husband role.
Yes,
in
there's
the
a
room.
very unique role for him to fulfill.
And I need that role completely filled 100%. So he was very aware of, I'm going to fill this role, and I can't fix the rest for you. I'm so and very like apologetic or empathetic.
I think from my recollection of Doug, I think he definitely, he was definitely feeling overwhelmed too in that season of I don't know how to meet Katrina. I mean, it's his first child too. And he was, I mean, how old were you guys when you had Carice?
27.
27.
27. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's nowadays, that's a young age. You were like old people back in old times.
It's true.
But yeah, he felt adequately,
yeah, we're about to have a baby.
Adequately scared in in those ways.
Yes.
And I think the beautiful thing about Doug is that for some of the challenges that he had in his history, he really wanted to correct those. And he's wanted to.
Oh, yeah, very much.
He's like, I want to correct those challenges so that someone else isn't facing that. And he's wanting to do things right.
Yeah.
He's hunting it down like, what do I do?
I have always said one of Doug's best traits is he's the most teachable person.
He really is. Yeah.
He's open to input, and he's willing to like switch course if it'll better him.
It's funny. There's been times where I'm like, Doug, da 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 da. He's like, I didn't know I was doing that. How do I do that different? It's very like innocent.
Yes, very much.
It's beautiful innocence. But he couldn't fulfill that in that space. And so what ended up happening, did you did you actually find out like this isn't something that's going to happen? Like my family won't be there, or what happened?
Yeah, I knew that it wasn't something that they were capable of doing. Just where both of my sisters were at in life, it wasn't going to happen. And I think I did talk to them about it, and they were sad. They were also sad that they couldn't be there, because it's also, you don't know when you're going to go into labor. So you can't just tell somebody to come.
Just give me the whole next month of your life, and
we'll be awesome.
Deliver somewhere hopefully inside of that space.
It's true. We'll see what happens. So I think once it started to sink in that like, this is really not going to happen, and it's going to be Doug and I. And that's also beautiful for the people that have done it. It was just what my heart needed, was to have a sister in the room. I actually called Abby, sobbing, crying. I'm like, I just feel so alone, and felt really sad about it. And she was great. She's like, you're not going to have a sister there. Like, that's not going to happen, but you can try to figure out what you can have. So I asked my friend Justine to come and be a part of the delivery, which felt really vulnerable. Like, again, you don't know when you're going to go into labor, and you don't know how long it is. I've had friends with 36-hour labors. So you're like, could you come hang out with me for days at a time while I might yell and scream and, you know, just be quiet? They won't be entertaining. That's for sure.
No, not at all. Well, and then, because I had heard the back end of the dialogue that you'd had with Abby, and it's interesting because something started stirring inside of me inside of hearing about that conversation, and there was this it was like this just well of compassion. I think that I relate with you just again because of our personality types. There's a lot of things that are similar, and it's like I feel known and stuff like that, and I was really able to put myself in those shoes and be like, I just want to love her and Doug well. I think both of you. I think that when I've looked at as a man in my own personal pains that I've experienced in my past, there's like people like Doug alongside me where I'm like, how can I love Doug in ways that maybe someone didn't reach out to love me or something like that? And in the masculine journey. And I looked at it and I knew that Doug was, you know, on his own journey of feeling apprehensive and overwhelmed at it. And I'm like, oh, I want to help that. But there was something about part of your ache where I was like, I don't know, but I just feel like I'm supposed to offer myself to be available to the process of being at the birth or being there for you on the birthday or whatever happens. And so we were actually at a friend's, I think it was a birthday party or some party get together. And
also an interesting place for this conversation
to go down. But randomly in passing, I don't know how the conversation was going. I was like, what would you think? Like, I'm just handing this out, just putting this out there. You don't have to say yes to it. All the disclaimers. I think I remember having some disclaimers to it, but I'm like, I really want to make myself available. The just was to being there. I'd love to be part of that journey. If that's something that feels good to you or safe to you, or would feel supportive. Because really at the end of the day, we go back to our last two podcasts and, you know, my whole journey of like, I don't really, well, my first part of my journey, which is I never want kids. Kids will destroy your entire life. Going through the process of personal healing to going, oh yeah, I guess I'm open to kids and stuff like that. But coming into this and, you know, it's not like I want to force myself into a delivery room. Like, all right, birth is birth. And I don't know that I understood the depth of beauty and wonder of birth up to this point in any way, shape, or form.
I don't think anybody that hasn't been there can
understand the context of something like that. But so I threw that offer out there to you. How did that land for you?
I literally remember your face and I'm like, just shut up, Justin. Like, cause I thought you were messing with me. Like what guy
Did you
friend?
Really think I was messing with you?
Yes. I think my honest response was F you. Like, go away. This is vulnerable and you're being a meanie.
You're making jokes at my expense.
Yeah. Like, go away. And you were also caught off guard because you were being so real and and honest about like your request, or not request, but like offer.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I could see the like kind of hurt. And I'm like, oh, he's being serious. But if you know joking. Justin, like 90% of the time, he's full of crap. So I'm like, you'd never really know. In our relationship,
joking,
especially.
Making ridiculous over the top jokes. It's like, of course, no one would actually say anything like that or think that, which our listeners know that Abby and I've talked about that.
Better than I did at the point.
But so it makes sense that you were sitting there like, oh, he's full of crap right now. And then to be like, oh no, he's serious.
Oh, you were so serious. I could see it in your eyes. And I was like, oh, I don't actually know what to do with that. I've never considered that. I need to go think about that.
I do remember feeling the intensity of your emotional spin out and resistance. Like it hit something. I was like, was I dumb for asking this question? Like, I don't know.
No, you could see the like wall go up immediately. Like, you're being a meanie. I will protect myself, but no. Once I realized you were serious, I was like, I don't even know what to do with that. Cause, I've never heard of even a dad being in a birthing room. I think actually after our experience, somebody told me that their dad was in the birthing room with them. And I was like, oh, somebody else had a similar situation, but not similar at all.
Yeah.
It was funny.
Especially I'm a man. Like, not Doug.
Not Doug, a man. Labor is very exposing. In all of the ways, emotionally, vulnerably, physically.
Yeah.
Like all the things. So it was a big process of like, okay, am I going to be comfortable with Justin in the birthing room? Like just the like logistics of it, the practicals. Like he might see my boobs. He might see my vagina. Am I comfortable with that? Like, what do I think about that? That's really weird. And my immediate response is no.
Never. Which I'm sure that any women listening to this right now are like, what the hell are you thinking? Absolutely
when people
not.
hear that you were in the birthing room, they do not know what to do with it.
At
it's
all.
the weirdest
Their
thing
brain
for
gets
them to
broken.
understand.
And I'm sure they go away from any of those conversations like, what?
Katrina's so weird.
What did she do?
I'm a very normal person.
Very normal.
Very normal. And so just the practicals of like, this is what birth is. I had talked to my sister enough about like what to expect in the labor and delivery. And so the practicals, I'm like, well, maybe if he came, but he wasn't there whenever I actually started pushing, because that's probably the most exposing part.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we landed was I was like, I would actually love it if you came. But the other question I had to figure out.
I was going to ask what your process and dialogues with Doug were, but you can. So
long ago. I'm like racking my brain. What was our dialogue? Justin has a better memory than I do.
Well, I mean, I never felt like there was any remote resistance from Doug.
No.
On the issue whatsoever, which you'd think that maybe,
another man would be like, no, I don't want you to.
I don't want you here.
Yeah, I would say that we were aware labor isn't a sexual thing at all.
Yeah.
But we had never done it before. But that would be my response now. Like, there's nothing sexual about it. There's nothing like it's not a.
It is screaming and it is pain.
It's very empowering and it's beautiful and it's strengthening, but it is not sexual.
No. Not at all.
But. It's funny because I just had the thought, I don't even think I told my family you were going to be there till after. Nobody knew what to do with this. I can't remember what Doug was, but I know he was always comfortable with it because our dynamic has never had any weirdness. Like it has always been a very like big brother relationship. You've always been safe to us. Yeah. You've always been somebody that like both in Doug and I know like if we process with you, if we bring you in on something, like you love us both so much that like it's such a safe place to be and we don't have to worry about judgments for the other person or vice versa.
No, I see you both as who you are. I don't see villains.
No, there's none of that.
Make those conclusions.
And so I think just the way our relationship had developed and the safety and the connection that we had established as friends, probably more than friends, we're family now.
Oh yeah.
And at this point, we definitely are family. Is just like it just became. It was so safe, and he left it completely up to me because it felt way more exposing to him for me than for him.
Right. Doug put it in your court. He was like, babe, whatever you need. You're the one that's really the one being exposed there.
Yes.
I'm with you to join you and I want you to feel supported.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was great.
Which I think those are parts of Doug that I really think are really beautiful. There's like some really non-controlling elements about him.
Oh yeah.
Where he's like, okay, yeah, I can see the logic in that. If you need that, yeah, sure, let's do that.
But I also had to figure out, do I need that?
Yeah, that's a huge question.
Because like, you could be in the room. That's great. But like, it is a very vulnerable, intimate space. And do I need Justin in the room? Like, is it something I want and need? Not just like, do I want Justin to see my boobs or not? Like, that's the practicals. But like,
do I want him
actually,
in the room?
like, do I want to overcome that kind of level of intimacy or vulnerability because I have a need here?
Yeah.
And I think what I realized, like when we were processing about this before, is just like it was a need I didn't know I had until I started going on the journey of like, oh, I do actually have a big space in my heart that needs to feel like a dad show up for me. And I think that when I hear about dads being in the labor room, like I think that's so beautiful and I think it's so sweet, and what a like sacrificial way to show up for your kid, you know? Yeah. Not dads as in the husbands, but dads as in the grandpa.
Yeah.
Showing up. And it's just a pain point for me is like having a dad show up and be present.
And I recognized a part of that.
Yeah.
Which is even like,
Justin's just so intuitive, guys. He knew before I did.
I strongly recognize that. And I remember processing like, I'm not old enough to be her dad. I don't want to quote unquote be her dad, but I know that there's a fathering element that I could lend a fathering strength to this situation.
Yeah.
That could be very helpful or redemptive or healing in some of these ways that I can feel going on for her. And I know that for me, you know, I've processed a lot on the podcast how, you know, all of our dads, all of our parents fail us to one level or another, and we will fail our kid. Like there's ways that you're going to fail your kids and they're going to have conversations about that. And that doesn't mean that we are failures. It just means we're human, we're messy. There's things that we don't have capacity for, but that's where on our journey of healing, we begin to invite and allow fathering and mothering moments to fill in the spaces that were actually left very exposed or didn't get the need met in certain ways.
And I think sometimes our expectation is there's just going to be this person who shows up in my life and starts to be my dad.
Be all of it.
And that's not going to happen.
No.
And did I have a dream of my dad being in my labor and delivery room growing up? No, but I think I had a need and a desire to have a dad show up. And so I said,
in ways that were in places that were vulnerable and had certain types of wanted care, wanted protection, wanted to know that I'm safe.
That I'm not
bigger
alone.
than me, that I'm not alone.
Yeah. And so the thing that made that decision for me was I might not have dreamt about this, but this is such a space that I can allow my heart to feel a father show up for me.
Right.
And Justin is not my spiritual father.
No.
I would say we're more friends, big brother, little sister situation. But I allowed my heart to posture itself in that situation to receive a father's love from him.
Right.
And I think that has been so healing to my heart over the years, is just posturing my heart to receive love from people. And from multiple people, not just expecting Justin to fill this hole in my life, but to have a dad show up and fill this need. Like, this might be off topic, but we just remodeled a house this last year, and my friend came over with his dad. We don't know his dad. His dad just showed up to come help. And I was driving to Home Depot just sobbing, crying. Because I'm like, a dad showed up today. And I just, the whole day, postured my heart to just receive a dad's love, as though like, this is a dad showing up because he just wants to help. Yeah. And that isn't something I needed and felt going through a remodel, of like just having somebody show up and just help without asking. And he would just go around the house and tinker with things. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love this guy. So yeah, I think in that process of deciding, does Justin need to be in this birthing room? Do I want Justin in this birthing room? And I was like, this isn't a dream I've had my whole life. And it might sound really weird to people, but I'm going to let this experience heal my heart and fill my heart with a father's love that I won't get if I don't say yes to this.
Yeah, it was really cool because when you said yes to it, I remember feeling giddy in some ways, because I'm like, this is so cool. Like, I get to go love my friend in a very unique way that probably a lot of people don't get to do. And I was very aware of the honor of the invitation to the yes that happened there. And quite frankly, when the day came, was there anything else you want to say before the day actually happened?
No.
The day happened, and I remember coming into your room, and you were on a ball on the side, a birthing ball on the side of the bed, hunched over, and just Doug looked like he had so many emotions. And
sweet Doug.
I've been going through so much, and I'm like, it's kind of like a tag team match. And it's like, tag, I'm in, Doug. Give me some time here. And I took some time just rubbing your back and trying to comfort you as you were sitting like.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
that. Do you remember? Yeah.
I do remember that. Yeah, because we had gotten to the hospital probably like 20 hours prior because my water broke and they wanted us to go in. And so we had just been there waiting for contractions to start. So yes, Doug and I were both exhausted and like, what's happening?
Yeah, you were at that point where it was getting pretty intense. And Also, side note, the hospital was 25 minute drive away or so. So when I got the call, I was just like full throttle.
You get there to sit.
I get there to sit. I think that's what all real labor is.
It's true.
Everyone drives as fast as they can to sit and just
wait
for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But you see it on TV. But then when you actually have the experience, you're like, oh, I think she might murder me if I'm not careful here.
The labor is so interesting because my experience is only without an epidural. So you're so in your head. Every word costs you something. And so people think, well, you're mad or you're frustrated. But like you have to focus so much on like processing through the contractions and the pain. And like I remember Doug sitting on the side of the bed and his back was starting to hurt. He would tell me this later. And he's like, I can't move because she might get mad. And I'm like, you can, but also if you move, you're going to cause me to be in so much pain too. And like, I remember him asking me if he could move and it taking like 2 contractions for me to actually like figure out what I need to say to him to let him move, because you're just so
all of your energy and focus
in yourself. Like it was probably like a really freeing experience for me. And like, I don't need to please anybody in this room. I'm just going to solely take care of myself. And it was really freeing and like people pleasing. Like that's not going to happen today. And it was great.
Yeah, that's really cool. Way. And I don't remember how long I was actually there before it transitioned from that room, but I don't think it was a super long amount of time.
No, it was a fast labor.
Yeah. So all of a sudden, and at that point I don't think I was privy to the knowledge that I wouldn't be in the birthing room up until that moment. No, it wasn't up until that moment. And then all of a sudden you're like, I don't think Justin, you might not be coming in here. And I'm like, wait, I've prepared myself for this
Justin,
big day.
I didn't know this.
Yeah. Oh no,
I'm so sorry.
Oh, I was 1,000% whiplashed on that.
Oh gosh.
And so I was like, what? Wait. And so, I mean, who am I to be like, you're hurting my feelings. You told me to get, what is going on? I was like, okay, I can see that I have emotions about this. And it wasn't like aggressive, negative. It was almost like a disappointment that I had so prepped my heart to be part of a certain experience. And like, this is the day I'm going to get to be there. And then I'm like, you end up getting hauled out of the room. Quickly. And then I'm just left behind. And Doug's like,
I'm so
you're going to have to stay here, man, I guess. I don't know. Goodbye. And I was like, okay, how do I process this? What do I do with this?
I'm telling you guys, he has a way better memory than I do.
Oh, totally. And I sat there and I was like, the whole point of me being here is to love her well and give her what she needs.
Yeah.
If this is exactly what she needs, knowing that I'm at this hospital and I was willing to come to this hospital, then that's all that matters.
Yeah.
And the minute I actually thought about it in that sense, I was like, oh, well then I'm okay if I don't end up in there, and I can let go of my grief of the imagined scenario that I thought I'm going to be part of this really cool thing.
Totally.
And I kind of died to it. And then I don't think it was but 30 minutes later or something
Tell
like
me
that.
It was longer than that, because it was a lifetime to me.
It probably did feel like a lifetime. It could have been longer. I mean, my memories.
Oh, I remember this. Okay. The reason why you weren't is we were going to the shower.
Oh.
In the other room. We were going to try the shower.
And just stand in the shower and try to drop the baby in the shower.
And Justine was there because obviously I'm not clothed. Justine was there and Doug was there. And I told Doug to come and get in the shower with me. And he's like, but I'd have to be in my underwear. And I'm like, I don't care. And obviously Justine's there, so Doug's now feeling this exposed.
As exposed as Katrina.
So exposed. And he's like, okay, Justine, are you okay if I'm in my underwear? She's like, well, we're here now. Go for it. So that's probably why we didn't have you come in. But we transitioned to a bed because the shower wasn't working. And I was like exploding in my body. Like my labor, I think, was 8 hours total, which if you've had a baby, you know that that's very fast, especially for your first. So I could not manage what was happening in my body, and I couldn't get back into a good mind space. Peaceful mind space, yes. Yeah. That I had in the other room, because the transition just throws you off. So I think I remember laying there thinking, I didn't even know how to talk to my body in the moment. Like I was just losing all sense of like rational thought. And I was just like, Doug, go get Justin. I need him to talk to my body. I need him to tell it to stop.
He comes flying and he's like, you got to get in here. Here's the deal. Katrina needs you to talk to her body. I don't know if you'll stay in there. Just would you come in here?
Yes. So I remember just laying there and Justin coming in and grabbing my hand and just like quietly talking to my body. And it brought a lot of peace into the room because I think you were the only person in the room with the most experience as to what was happening because you had delivered cows.
I had delivered cows.
Yes. We were like, you're the only person. And it is crazy when you have a baby, you think that like somebody is going to be there, like a nurse or a doctor, and they're not.
Not until it was really time to go down. It was
time to like push. And so you're just in the labor and delivery room with you and your people, which we were the weirdest group of people that hospital has probably ever seen.
Oh my God.
Who are these people?
When she says talk to her body, like part of it was me, like I put my hand on your shoulder and I was like, Katrina's body, you're safe here. You're not alone. I started speaking to all the places that could potentially be the fears that are going on that are causing you to just not be able to be present and stuff like that. And just the soothing. It's the sense of soothing.
Yeah.
Of like, all right, here's the strength, here's the protection. And for me, I wasn't overwhelmed by the circumstance because I'm not the parent. Right?
Totally.
Like I'm in body fully. I'm not out of body where I'm like, what's happening? This is just happening to me. I'm fully in body, in support system there.
Yeah. And you were, slept and eaten and done all the things. But also it was, like I couldn't rationally think because of the pain. And it was like, I don't think I'm going to survive this. And you coming in was like, oh, you will be okay. Like your body, like my body was just screaming, we can't do this. And I needed to be reminded that I could.
And I think that there are some people who are listening who you may be a man or you may not have given birth as a woman yet. But the truth is when we're in deeply painful scenarios or things that look bigger than us, really all we need to know is that we are not alone. Totally. And that begins to tell us we're going to be okay.
Totally.
So, and that's why a lot of people, like you said, you talked about the idea of the fathering element or something like that. It's just like, oh, when there's someone that feels like the father fulfills a father role, they're like, I'm not alone. It's going to be okay when a strong dad steps into the room.
And I had postured my heart to receive that too. Prior.
So you were in that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't just Justin's here and he's telling me it's going to be okay.
He like has magic words for your body to not be in pain because the pain was still completely there, but it was just like, okay, we're going to be okay. And I think at that point too, like, I don't know how long it had been in my head. Again, it was like a very long time, but that transition.
I mean, there was a lot of time, but I don't know if I remember it accurately.
I think Doug, Justine, and I had been in the situation of trying the shower, trying this. And so we felt a little bit like this is getting out of control. Like everything that wasn't working was out of control. And then having you come in the room, having not experienced all of these things that weren't working. Yeah. You're just like, no, we got this. And like,
totally.
Just now we're going to lay here and just try this,
You actually went into full on birthing, not too long after I had gotten in there and things got calmed down.
Yeah.
It was it seemed like the process sped up. I don't know that that's due to me. I'm just saying that's when it did. It started.
Well, that's like the most painful process of labor is they call it transition, which is so interesting, guys. Go look at it. But it's the transition where the baby drops and you actually start pushing. And that's the most painful part. And that's pretty much where any woman will say, I can't do this.
Yeah, I can't do this. I hate you. I'm going to divorce you for doing this to me.
No, I don't know who thinks those things. I do remember telling Doug we will not have more children. Which we did. I lied. But yeah, I think just having like that transition, this really painful thing, and then having an even stronger support group around me was really helpful. Yeah,
it was really cool because as that transition happens, there's moments where you're in such exhaustion, and now the baby's about to actually deliver, and we have the nurses in there. On one side, you have Justine holding one leg. On the other side, you have Justin holding Justin and Justine are each holding a leg. You
probably remember this better than I do. I'd love to hear your story because I like didn't even feel pain at that point because of all the adrenaline in my body.
Oh, absolutely. I remember looking at Justine and kind of the two of us just like, all right, we're here. We're doing this. We got the legs. Doug, this is what I remember the most. It felt like Doug had now hit the full out of body experience where he's just kind of like looking around being like, okay, what's going to happen? And it's now he's just kind of lost it, but not in a negative way. He's just like, what do I do for this next step? And at one point they're like, all right, Katrina, you gotta push in. You gotta get your head down and push in. And it probably was like a bomb had gone off for you and you could barely hear anything really happening at that point. And so I remember supporting your head and helping to tilt your head and get you to kind of like bend forward. And I was just like, I remember thinking, my only role is to make sure that Doug gets fully present with the birth and that she feels fully supported over here. So I was kind of, you were on my right-hand side. He was on my left-hand side. So he was over wanting to watch the birth happen. So all of a sudden, I'm able to see the baby crowning. I see the baby begin to come out. Doug's head's over looking at you. And I literally had to grab Doug's head. And I'm like, Doug, your child's coming. You're missing this. Get here. Watch this.
I did not know that.
And I remember him getting there and seeing his eyes. Like there's this explosion of wonder. Like I went from watching the baby start to come out to watching his face. And I had this emotion just well up inside of me as I'm watching a dad watch their child come into this world. And then all of a sudden, Carice is thrown onto your stomach and you're covered in sweat. And Doug's like lost in euphoria himself at this wonder that's happening. And I felt, this is the only way I have never felt so close to heaven as I did standing there in my personal life.
Totally.
As again, I don't know how to express this to anyone else that hasn't been inside of that space, but forgive me for my foofy language. It's almost as if there's a room full of angels you can't see.
Yeah.
That are all celebrating life that has now come to earth. And it felt like this tangible presence of celebration and love, not just that we were having, but that like
the heaven was
that heaven was having right in this space that someone got to pass into earth all of a sudden. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I get it. It makes sense why people are so excited about birth. It was like revelation was happening to me about the beauty of life, the uniqueness of life. And I think about people who are reserved about wanting life to actually come to earth, where they're like, I don't want to have this child. And I get it. There's a lot of fears. There's so many scenarios where people are terrified about having a child come into this world and not wanting to take on the responsibilities, XYZ. But there's something so incredibly powerful. And there's a trust. It's like there's this child that's birthed and it's like heaven says, I'm going to trust you, Katrina. I'm going to trust you, Doug, with this gift of life. And you get to choose to participate as much as you want to, but I'm going to trust you with it. And the vulnerability of Carice, like this child now is fully like going, I'm going to have a million needs that I cannot communicate to you. And I'm going to trust you
to take care of me,
whether I like it or not. And so I felt the beauty of that, and tears start streaming down my face, and I'm just in awe of the moment. And then all of a sudden there was this shift where all of a sudden, as the pain starts coming down, and Katrina, you're laying there nursing, very exposed. And I was like, I don't know when I'm supposed to go, but the pain is subsiding. The intensity's gone. Yeah. And I remember just slowly backing out.
You did.
Like,
I remember.
Come back later.
Justin feels awkward now. I could feel your awkwardness.
Well, I didn't know what you felt. And I wasn't going to be like, do you feel like it's creepy?
We never had this conversation?
We haven't had this conversation. We actually have it. This is first. I was like, I don't want her now that it's done to be like, why are you still hanging out here?
That sounds like me. Why are you here? Go away.
Would you get lost?
No. I remember thinking, he left quickly. I wonder if he felt really awkward about me nursing. But we never talked about it. I think we just like...
I felt like I wanted to really now protect this space for you and protect the vulnerability you'd already trusted me with.
Totally.
And I didn't want you to feel like you had to be the one after all of that to try and communicate your need or your boundary of like, all right, could you please leave now? Because now I'm feeling exposed in a different way because the adrenaline's not running the same way and whatever like that. Yeah. So that was part of my role of trying to get into your shoes, empathize, have compassion. Because again, the whole process is what does she actually need? Yeah, how can I really love her well? Totally. And whether or not that was a needed decision, it was a one that I was making for you because I wanted to love you in that way.
Well, thank you. Yeah. I was not rationally thinking about anything, so thanks.
Thanks. I think what was really interesting was the doctors, the nurses.
Oh, yeah.
Who were like, what the F is happening here?
They did not know what to do with us.
I remember them coming in, by the way, just replaying that and watching me. And I remember them giving me looks. And it wasn't like I was being hyper vigilant about my role because I kind of really don't care what people think at that point. But I was like, oh no, they're trying to figure out what's going on here.
Oh, totally. They're like, who's this guy? How does he relate to those two? Because you're not my brother. You're not my dad. And then Justine, they didn't know what to do with. They're like, a sister wife situation. Like, and then this guy's over here. I think I remember when I got pregnant with my second, my midwife being like, so who's coming this time? Well, we haven't really figured out the invite list yet, but we'll get there. Yeah, it was an interesting group of people.
Yeah. And to say this, because I know we don't have a whole lot more time in this conversation, but it felt like such a redemptive gift for me because when we're talking about some of the roles that I fulfilled inside of that or got to like be redemption in ways that your heart needed that you didn't realize.
Yeah.
But at that point, I didn't know Abby was going to say, I don't want to have a child through my own body.
Yeah.
And again, as I processed on the previous podcast, there's a lot of me that's like, oh, that's totally fine. But I think that if I didn't have that experience with you, I would have had an entirely different grief process. Which I didn't talk about this on the last podcast. I am now. But
tell me about it.
Yeah, tell me about it. I was pretty calm, cool, and collected about it. I was like, okay, this is Abby's process. But I think there would have been an ache of the unknown of like, oh, there's this special experience that so many couples get to have that I'll never be part of. But you and Doug, like the bravery, the vulnerability of inviting me into that space, handed me a gift that wouldn't be open till 6 years down the road, really.
Yeah, totally.
Like then when Abby says, hey, I don't think I can do this through my body. Can you get a vasectomy? I remember when I went to go get the vasectomy as some reality started sinking in for me.
Yeah.
And I've never told you this, but I started thinking, Katrina's given me the gift of participating in birth. Like I'm safe to be able to do this. And there's something about even the uniqueness of Carice where I feel like I have
it's very unique.
Where I have a hand still in this child where I'm like,
you guys have a special connection.
Yeah. That's like, okay, that's not my kid. And I'm not going to take responsibility for that child unless you guys like disappear somehow. But
they won't do that.
But it feels like an extension of like Carice feels like an extension of a part of my journey.
Yeah.
That feels like, okay, this is really cool.
I know. You guys' connection and relationship's really sweet. She loves you.
Oh, yeah.
It's really sweet.
Which, by the way, it's cool. Like part of our relationship, even the other day, I went over and I was processing some pain inside of my life.
Oh, that was so sweet.
Two things happened. One, I sit sob crying and you just came over and just comforted me and put your arm around me and were just so present with me. I felt unbelievably loved. And I'm like, this is what family is meant to be.
Yeah.
Where we each lend our strength to each other in moments of feeling so weak. And it felt so nice that there was that. And Carice comes in, happens to come barging in. She's such
a neighbor kid.
She's such the adventurer that's like, hi, what's happening? Here we are. What are we going to do? And she comes barging in and you're like, oh,
She said, "What's wrong with him?"
Uncle Justin just hurt himself. And I don't know which
He
one
got
was
an
like,
ouchie.
got an ouchie. I was like, yeah, my knee. I fell on my knee and I hurt my knee. You know, because like we're not going to try and have this discussion
No,
with her. Oh, okay.
not with a 5-year-old.
But she went downstairs and comes back with a balloon
Yes.
that said "Get well soon" on it.
Mm-hmm.
And set it down in front of me and then gave me the biggest hug.
I know.
And I was like,
now I feel even more sad.
I don't have a kid to do this for me.
Oh.
It must be amazing having her.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It is amazing.
Uh-huh.
That was really sweet. And you couldn't see her because you were kind of like kneeling down. I think you were like, I can't show her my face. She'll really know I got hurt.
Right. And I'm trying to actually protect her. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
totally.
feel embarrassed as much as I'm like, I'm trying to protect her from this because she is not going to know how to
Yes,
compute
she's
Uncle
5.
Justin having a meltdown like this.
But she just was like standing over you before she gave you the balloon, just kind of like, how can I make him feel better? Like you could see the little wheels spinning in her head of like, how do I help Uncle Justin be better? Because she's a very nurturing kid.
Mm-hmm.
Like she does have this wildness aspect to her, but if somebody gets hurt, if somebody's crying, she's like, I can remember her, like if I was crying when she was like 18 months old, she'd come over and like rub my arm and I'm like, oh honey, I'm okay. I'm just having a good cry. Like it's okay. So she has that in her and you could see her wheels spinning of like, how do I take care of him right now?
It was really so beautiful.
Yeah.
There's one other thing about, you know, go ahead.
Oh, you told your part of like the pushing, but I didn't get to tell my part of
okay.
my experience.
Oh yeah, go ahead. I thought you didn't remember it. Please.
Oh no, I remember my part. I don't remember in detail as you because like the adrenaline hit so hard when they told me to push, and also context like I had to switch positions for pushing like 3 or 4 times because Carissa's heart rate was dropping. And so I just remember Justin and Doug would literally just pick me up and throw me into position. There was no moving on my part.
No.
I was like a little gummy doll being thrown around. But the doctor kept telling me to like push my head forward whenever I would push. And I couldn't remember to do it. I kept doing it. And then I just remember you grabbing, probably the same time you're moving Doug's head, but grabbing the back of my head and like shoving it forward. And I'm like, oh, yay, somebody knows what's going on. Like it's the thought going on in my head of like, I'm not alone and somebody knows what's going on. Because like there is this thing of like, you have to do all of these parts to reserve energy and make sure that you're pushing effectively. And like, I was not computing. And just there was this, I mean, I can remember seeing Doug and like he's got tears in his eyes and but most of my pushing was like eyes closed. But I just remember feeling your hand on the back of my head and feeling like, oh, he's here and we're together. And like Justine like I think she was holding my hand. I can't remember. But yeah, I just remember like feeling so surrounded in that moment. And then when the baby's born, like nothing else matters. And it's such a what's the word? Like out of body experience and unreal because like I remember when they handed her to me, I was like,
1,000%.
You have ears like and a nose. Like it was just this reality of this child's in my arms that's been in my belly. But like all of the things that I thought you would have, you actually have them. Thank God she had ears and a nose. But it's a surreal experience. It
was surreal for me being on the outside, especially it was interesting. So as I see her come out and I watch your belly drop, like your belly just disappears like that.
I mean, not completely, but it does get smaller.
There's a massive amount of drop that happened. And my brain, like watching that compute was just, my brain was like, wait, what just happened? Just something disappeared on the inside.
Every time there's a newborn, I like hold it up to the mom, like, this was inside of you. How does that, like, it's such a weird thing to compute because you don't understand. It doesn't make sense, but it is real.
It was a joy and such a wonder. I think one of the other things that was interesting, it ended up eventually pushing buttons for me. At one point, you had extended an invitation to be one of the godparents, and I had turned that down. And
he did, you guys. Can you believe that?
I had there was 2 parts to it. One, it was
have compassion. Don't worry.
Yeah, thanks. Part of it was on the recovery of my sickness that I was having, and I felt ill-equipped to show up in any way, shape, or form for about 2 years there. And I had anxiety go through the roof of like, I'm going to fail you guys. I'm going to fail this child if I accept that role. I don't know what that means to be inside of that role. Like it was daunting for me in a couple ways. Not just, it was daunting for me to say no as much as it was daunting to say yes.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, will they believe that I don't love them or that I don't care about them if I say no? I felt actually terrified to have that conversation.
Oh, really?
That was probably one of the biggest anxiety inducing conversations with a friend on the face of the planet, to have a conversation that says no.
Yeah.
But then I had so much sadness about the idea of if I say yes and I don't adequately show up, I'm like, I can't bear hurting them by that as well. Because I was just, again, I was at a phase in life like now where I physically am capable, mentally strong. And if that had been the scenario, I'd be, oh, sure, totally.
Yeah.
That's not even that high of stakes, but everything felt more high stakes back then when I was just coming out of almost dying.
But I appreciated your guys' honesty in that. Like, I would have rather you be honest. And I think one thing that you said, and you have stayed true, is like, we still want to be a part of our life. Like, we don't, like,
oh, totally.
We might not be our godparents, but we want to be an active part of her life. And you guys have always done that in ways more so than other people have. Yeah. Yeah. Which has been honestly really good for her. Like, she knows she's loved by you. And as a parent, like, when you see people enjoy and love your kid, I don't know if there's something, I mean, I'm sure there is, but it's so rewarding and it's so wonderful because you're like, oh, I helped create you and somebody really enjoys you. And the love and affection that we have for our kids is so big. And to see them being poured into and loved on and appreciated, like, it's so amazing. I don't have a word. Sorry.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because
it's like validating and encouraging, and I don't know.
It's been especially special because Crease has a unique bonding style right now at this process. Like, she's more of an independent child in her expression, yet there's been this more bonding thing that's happening for her where there's this engagement, and there's been these invitations to go like read her a story at night and stuff when I come over. And I know there's actually been, I haven't even shared this with you, but there's been times when I go and I lay with her in bed and I read the story to her and she's just cuddled up, and like I feel so emotional of like, oh, this is so beautiful. Like, I was there for your birth. I get to be here in these moments, these singular moments. And especially as her bonding is going deeper and stuff like that, I'm like, this is really fun and cool to be part of. Yeah. So it's been a gift that keeps giving in so many ways. And again, like my belly just rumbled. Wow. The byproduct of all of this is this deep sense of family. Yeah, it's true. Even if anything, to me, I feel like, oh, you know, Doug and Katrina and I and Abby, we could have our ups and our downs, but there's a certain bond process that's gone on between all of us. It's just family. Yeah, you can't get rid of us even if you wanted to. No, I know that. Yeah. And that's where I felt so safe to let down my guard, even like using the other day as an example of like, I know this person sees me fully and I can be as exposed as possible in front of her, and she's going to continue to care about me, love me, not judge me and stuff like that. And so, yeah, it's been a cool gift. And that's vice versa. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that as we're wrapping this up today, people who have been listening, like, your brains may not compute this conversation and maybe like, hell no, I'd never do anything like that. But again, this conversation is an invitation to intimacy, to family, to living a lifestyle of vulnerability and realizing that when we take these little steps to say yes, there is the fulfillment of redemption through the things that feel scary. Yeah. Like the places in life where it feels like something has been robbed, in order to receive the redemption, it's always going to take some form of vulnerability, some form of facing fear. Totally. In order to get that. But it's so worth it. It is so worth it. And you also have to let go of what you think it's going to look like. Yeah. Like, I had it painted in my head what a dad showing up in my world would look like. And I had a perfect picture and it was real pretty. But like, it never looked like Justin coming to my birth, my delivery room. Like, that would not have been a part of my story. But I would not have received and healed or felt the love if I had tried to stick to my own story.
Like you have to be
Right.
open to other people coming in and it looking differently than you expect.
Which is really cool, because what you don't know is the episode that just launched this last week was specifically about that.
Oh yeah, guys, I'm on it.
Mm-hmm.
I totally listen to the podcast every week.
No, but I think that that's awesome, because like this is what it really tied into. It's going to
Yeah.
reinforce a tangible, like it wasn't what you thought it would look like.
No, and it wasn't even something I realized I needed.
Until the moment happened. And so there's areas like when you say yes inside of your story to like, God, yes, I want you to heal something and transform something inside of my life, or there's something that I need and I'm open to. There's a fulfillment that the grace comes in the right timing to fulfill things in a way that we didn't dream of. And we can't even imagine how it's going to happen. We just have to wait and just be like, all right, I'm going to trust that your grace will meet me and the timing that I need for the redemption that my heart is longing for.
Yeah.
So don't be hard-hearted. Don't let fear dictate your life. Face your fears head on.
And let people in.
Yeah.
Like, it's really vulnerable. Like, you have to be vulnerable to let those spaces get filled.
Yeah. It was a really big deal. So again, Katrina, thank you for coming on this podcast.
Totally.
Because this is your story. I know years ago, you're like, I don't know if I want to share that part of my story. Let me think about it. And you sharing it now, I'm like, that feels like an honor to share it with everyone else.
Yeah.
And I know that for me, it's also my story too. And to respect you, I haven't like shared the realities of it, but I've wanted to share it because it's a part of my story. I want to be able to share with the world.
It's a cool story.
Because it's so cool. And so you're giving me a gift by going, yeah, I'm ready to participate in that. And then thank you again for loving me radically enough to let me into that space the way you did there.
Thank you for being a part of that space.
Yeah.
And continuing to be a part of our life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everybody, if you liked this or got anything out of this, like I always say, rate, review, subscribe, share, get it out there, inspire the world to get connected and to be vulnerable and to, get something.
Get there.
Get there.
Do
Get
it.
there. Do it.
Do it.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.